Hi, welcome back to Guessagaingaming. And so today I'm back in Watch Dogs Legion, having made a video recently where I said I'm not making many videos about general gaming news. I saw something that I wanted to make a little video about. By the way, if I look a bit wet, it's because I fell into the canal when I came into this, switched to this character in the game. I was right next to the water and I moved the controller and fell into the water, so that's why I look a bit wet. Anyway, well, that's why she looks a bit wet, to be correct. So, personally, I'm in the very north east corner of the game that you can play in London, which is kind of into a Whitechapel, Bethnal Green kind of area. We're next to one of the canals. There's loads in that area of London. So that's where I am, and as you can see, it's evening. So what's today's video about? Well, it's about Borderlands, or it's more about something that the CEO of Gearbox, who are the makers of Borderlands, said that it struck me as something I wanted to say something about. And what he basically said to a fan who was asking him how much the new Borderlands game might cost, and they were saying, I hope it's not going to be $80. And he kind of said it's not up to him, and if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Then he listed a reason why when he was young, he wanted to play a game that was very expensive in 1991, and he managed to find a way to get the money. So you'll make it happen is kind of what he said. And it's not gone down well online, as you can imagine. And it's not gone down well generally, and I think it's a really dumb thing to say. I kind of maybe get where he's coming from in a little bit, but basically not. I mean, I don't even think it's a good premise, even if he hadn't said it online. I mean, obviously we know now that you have to be very careful what you say online, especially if you're the CEO or someone that works for a gaming studio or a movie company, because you can get quoted and it can, you know, ruin your game, especially very quickly, or your TV series or your film. But I think it's not a very good premise anyway. Even if he hadn't said it, if that's what he thinks, it's not a very good premise, because I think that the two things I took from that I thought were kind of offensive, really, and I'm not knocking particularly Borderlands, it's just generally gaming, where gaming studios, whether they make rubbish games or woke games or too expensive games, seem to think that they can just do what they want. And I think that number one, the idea that there's three things actually. Number one, the idea that he didn't know how much the game was going to cost is a lie, because of course he knew. He's the CEO, and I think there's other quotes from times when he said he didn't really know, but obviously by the fact he's kind of defending the fact it might be $80 suggests that it's going to be $80. So that's number one. If you're going to, charge $80, be upfront, because it's going to be exposed when you in advance. It's going to be. There's no point in hedging it and lying. So that's just unsavoury, I think. Why lie about it anyway? And if you're the CEO, of course you know. So that's number one. Also, I think the idea that you can just find a way to make the money to buy a game because you will make it happen is sort of offensive. I mean, he's the CEO of Gearbox. I don't know what he did when he was young. I don't know what games he bought. We don't know what his situation was, what his parents were like. We don't know. We'll never know. Who knows? But everyone's situation is different, and there's plenty of people who, if they needed something to spend $80 on, and I've been in this situation, I'm sure many people listening have, we've made it happen to get food, or to buy some medicine we really needed, or just something we really needed, at home, get something fixed, not to buy a game. So I think, make it happen if you really need it. Many people's lists may mean they can do that, but many of the things on that list will be fixes: get the car fixed, get the computer fixed, get some medicine, get food, get the leak in the roof fixed. They may not be get a game. So although I think, sometimes you do make it happen because you desperately want to, sometimes that is things you really do need. And getting a game is not going to be one of those on the list. And I would suggest to anyone whose list has got that as the top is not going to be desperate for the money, if that's your top priority in life. Either you've got a lot of money, And I think his analogy is interesting actually, because he said when he was a kid, well, yeah, of course, when you're a kid, you're not paying bills. You're not paying bills, you're not paying rent, you're not paying for medical care. So when you're a kid, yeah, your money is, you know, if you earn a side job, if you get pocket money, whatever it is, then of course you can spend your money on a game. That was his analogy. But when you're an adult, and most people that play games are adults, the majority, because it's more adults than kids. So you don't have that luxury of just earmarking a game as your priority for money. So I think his analogy was flawed in its concept, because what you do as a kid when you don't pay rent and bills is different to what you do later. So I think that's something. And then the other thing I would say, which I found kind of rude, is that if you're a real fan quote. If you're a real fan, I would suggest that means you play the game a lot. You can play any game a lot, it doesn't have to be Borderlands. You can play any game a lot, and that makes you a real fan. If you know about the game, you don't have to play it online, you don't have to be in forums. Just playing the game. I play Watch Dogs Legion, I don't play it online, I'm not in any Watch Dogs Legion forum, but I would say I'm a real fan of Watch Dogs Legion. So that, I think, makes me a real fan. But I've only bought the game, and I bought I bought a season pass, but I bought it in a sale. But I would say that makes me a real fan, just because I play the game a lot. I really love the game. If you've ever watched this channel, you'll know how much I love this game. So that makes me a real fan, and that's all I need to do to be a real fan. You don't need to fork out big money to buy a brand new game to be a real fan. I think that's kind of insulting, because there's plenty of people who've played any amount of games, not particularly Borderlands, tons and tons and tons. Some games were never expensive, some games people played back from many decades ago, even decades ago when Borderlands first came out in 2009, and they've played many games and they're real fans, and that doesn't mean they've paid £80 for a game. So I don't think that being a real fan means you'll find the money to buy a very expensive game. Being a real fan isn't that. It's like being a real fan of a pop group. It doesn't mean you've spent tons of money going to all the concerts. It doesn't mean you spent money on signed merchandise. It just means that you really like the group, you like all their records, and you really think the group's great. That's being a real fan. And also I would say that being a real fan is dependent on your time and budget. Whatever you do, you know, you can be a real fan of a group, of a movie, of a series, of a game, and you can only be the real fan that your time and money allows. For example, if you're a real fan of a pop group, you can't sometimes go to all the concerts because either they're expensive or they're in other countries, or you can't travel, you're busy working, so you can only be the kind of real fan that you in your budget and time can be. So but that was kind of insulting. And again, I'm not particularly picking on this guy because Randy Pitchford his name is, which is a funny name, but anyway, I'm not particularly picking on him or Borderlands. I think it's inherent of the way many of the big gaming companies have acted over the last few years with gamers about the woke things, the way games are broken, and they basically say we don't care what you think, we're going to do what we want. And I just think it's a bad attitude. I think it's a very bad attitude. And people that sit in their ivory towers of big gaming studios making games that have made millions and millions and millions, telling people you're not a real fan if you don't spend 80 quid on a game and you should make it happen, I think is just insulting. I think regardless of what he thought in private, that's still insulting. It's just dumb that he said it online. Anyway, like I said, I just wanted to make a video about something that I saw that I wanted to make a video about. So anyway, thanks for watching Guessagaingaming. Till next time, take care for now.